What's up, everyone? Let's talk about one of the bigger video game news stories this week, which again has to do with Microsoft and their quest to purchase Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. I feel like I've said that so many times on this channel. They're currently waging a battle against three different huge regulators: the CMA, that's the Competition and Markets Authority in the UK, the European Commission, and the FTC. This week, they're dealing mostly with the European Commission, who expressed concerns about the deal being anti-competitive. And in an attempt to assuage those concerns, Microsoft has two big announcements this week. The first was that the 10-year deal that they talked about back in December, the agreement that they would bring Call of Duty games to Nintendo for 10 years, that is apparently now official. Brad Smith, the vice chair and president at Microsoft, tweeted out on Tuesday, February 21st, "We've now signed a binding 10-year contract to bring Xbox games to Nintendo's gamers. This is just part of our commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty to more players on more platforms." The tweet has an attached screenshot which reads, "Microsoft and Nintendo have now negotiated and signed a binding 10-year legal agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo players the same day as Xbox, with full feature and content parity so they can experience Call of Duty just as Xbox and PlayStation gamers enjoy Call of Duty. We are committed to providing long-term equal access to Call of Duty to other gaming platforms, bringing more choice to more players and more competition to the gaming market." Now, a lot of the conversation surrounding this announcement has been about the technical capability of the Switch. A lot of people asking, how is this even possible? How could Call of Duty games come to the Switch? Notice the announcement hasn't mentioned the Switch in it at all. The agreement is for 10 years, so a lot of people are assuming that this is going to take place over the next generation of Nintendo hardware, which is supposedly going to be announced sometime near the end of this year and then released sometime in 2024. That's the current rumors. Now, if you remember, like I mentioned, Microsoft is also battling the CMA, who's set to make a decision about the acquisition sometime in March. And one of their major concerns was that the acquisition of Activision Blizzard would give Microsoft a huge advantage in cloud gaming. So yeah, it's an interesting set of factors there, but this agreement probably has to do with cloud gaming in response to other regulators' concerns with how Microsoft might dominate that space, more than it would have to do with like Microsoft committing to building ports for the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo's next hardware. The other big announcement from Microsoft this week is in the same vein. Microsoft and Nvidia have teamed up to bring Xbox titles to Nvidia's cloud platform, which is called GeForce Now. On Nvidia's website, you can see the official press release, which reads, "Microsoft and Nvidia announce expansive new gaming deal. Partnership will bring blockbuster lineup of Xbox games, including Minecraft and Activision titles like Call of Duty, to Nvidia GeForce Now cloud gaming service." Now, you might be wondering, how could that be, since Microsoft doesn't yet own the Call of Duty IP? This is all circumstantial. Even the Nintendo deal, in which the agreement will go through if Microsoft completes the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The press release goes on to say the agreement will enable gamers to stream Xbox PC titles from GeForce Now to PCs, Mac OS, Chromebooks, smartphones, and other devices. It will also enable Activision Blizzard PC titles such as Call of Duty to be streamed on GeForce Now after Microsoft's acquisition of Activision closes. So this deal with Nvidia includes a lot more titles than just Call of Duty. The Nintendo deal, of course, is specifically related to Call of Duty, but it's really interesting to see Microsoft make this move. Again, it's very clearly a direct response to the CMA and the FTC and the European Commission's concerns about Microsoft's ability to overtake the cloud gaming space. And this seems like a step in the right direction. It's mutually beneficial for both Microsoft and Nvidia to have this deal in place. And it seems like Microsoft is really trying to pull out all the stops to convince all of the different regulators. That doesn't mean that there are aspects of this deal which aren't great for consumers. Obviously, big mergers usually don't end up going in favor of consumers. Microsoft still would technically have the ability to disincentivize or restrict Call of Duty from other platforms. But basically what they're doing now with these two major announcements is trying to tell everybody like, hey, we're willing to play ball. We're not going to make Call of Duty exclusive, at least for now, or for 10 years, or for however long. And that seems to make sense with what they've said before about their strategy. But again, the regulators really do have to take all of these different things into consideration and think about the long-term ramifications, not just what's on paper right now. There was actually a press briefing in Brussels where Brad Smith gave a presentation.
"We haven't yet reached an agreement with Sony. I hope we will. I walk around with an envelope that contains the definitive agreement that we sent to Sony 2 days before Christmas. I'm ready to sign it at any time. And if Sony doesn't like the words, we're ready to sit down and pull out a pen or a version of Microsoft Word, and its cut and paste features.
Tom Warren, senior editor at The Verge, was actually there and tweeted some different things about what he had heard. One of his tweets reads, Microsoft President Brad Smith says Sony can spend all of its energy trying to block this deal, or it can sit down with us and hammer out an agreement that addresses what it says it's concerned about, mainly the access to Call of Duty in the future. Another tweet about the presentation reads, Microsoft thinks its 2 deals with Nvidia and Nintendo will be enough to convince regulators. Smith said, quote, do you want to kill a deal and cement Sony's position, or do you want to open Call of Duty up to 150 million more people, unquote. So yeah, some pretty strong language here. Microsoft clearly swinging for the fences as the CMA closes in on their final decision and as they try to convince the European Commission to let the deal go through. And then of course, the FTC lawsuit against Microsoft over the acquisition isn't happening until August. So it's gonna be a while for this deal to all come together. Those are the 3 major regulators that Activision really needs to convince in order for the deal to go through in a meaningful way. A lot of back and forth on whether the deal will happen or not. From what I've seen, it does seem likely that it will happen, but with some sort of concessions along the way. And that's pretty much gonna do it for now. In other news, PlayStation did announce that they're going to have a State of Play this week. That's on Thursday. They're not gonna focus on first-party titles for that one. That's probably coming later in the year. This State of Play on Thursday is going to primarily be about PlayStation VR 2. They might have some unannounced games that they're gonna show there, as well as some that they announced in a blog post that they might show off, as well as a focus on Suicide Squad. Also, Nintendo announced that there's going to be a big Pokemon event for Pokemon Day. That's on Monday. Probably get a big Pokemon announcement out of that, at least 1 or 2. So look forward to those things. Sorry I'm losing my voice. That's going to do it though for today. Thank you so much for watching, and for more video game news and updates, stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.